Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I kind of want to make a quick video talking about the character creator and possible account updates and NPCs and the ability to use alt accounts and all this kind of stuff. And I took some screenshots from the aUEC that went over the new character customizer, and I have some of these images in the background just to kind of visualize what I'm talking about here and the updates that's coming to this new character creator, because it's honestly pretty impressive. I think CIG did a really good job with this character creator. Now, I didn't make a video about it when it initially came out. There was so much going on with 323 and the tests that CIG is doing with silver meshing and all this stuff, all the leaks that's been coming out. So I want to take this moment to go over the character creator and kind of talk about, what it could mean for the future. Multiple accounts. I know there are a lot of citizens that have that and kind of have questions about it. Now, CIG also did a Star Citizen Live and they went over into a little bit more detail about this character customizer. But that was kind of more surrounding like what you could do with your character and all like that. This video is kind of more of a theory crafting video looking to the future, and it has a little bit of speculation in it. I know, very controversial speculation. Theory crafting is kind of what I enjoy doing, so if you're interested in that, stick around. Now, to start off with this character customizer, here you can choose your body type and whatnot, and then of course we get into kind of like the meat and potatoes of it. Okay, you can after you choose your body type, you can get into the DNA system, and this is Star Citizen's system, so you could kind of control the way your face looks. So CIG is adding new faces to the pool of faces that you can blend to, but they're also adding a new technology that enables you to sculpt the face, to adjust the eyebrows and the eyes and the cheekbones and the nose width and height and the shape of your mouth, the shape of your jaw, your ears, all of this type of stuff. You could kind of like grab one of these points here, you can pull it, stretch it, morph it, do all that kind of stuff. They've also added in a lot of new skin textures. So of course now, you could change your skin color, but being able to have these different textures if your face is more wrinkly. Of course, before, you had like one age group, everyone was kind of like an adult in their 30s or 40s. Now you can, presumably add some more wrinkles, add some more, they have sunspots here. So if you want to play as an older individual in the game, I know the Star Citizen's player base is a little bit older, so you can actually add all of that stuff and make your character look closer to what you look like, freckles and that. And then of course they have this gradient here. Instead of choosing skin colors from a pool, you can actually get more fine detail. And the same thing with eye color. You can go with the cool blues or the greens or the browns, kind of yellowish, all of that stuff in between with these gradients. That's really good to see. Okay, and of course they still have the faces that you can choose from and blend with. So you could kind of see here, you have the face selection in a list, so you could see multiple faces at the same time, which comes in handy if you want to blend multiple features. And then you have the blending bar, so you could kind of click on a head and blend that part. It actually shows you a percentage and whatnot. I think that's also looking really good. And then of course you could see the difference here. So between these two photos, the beard, the eyebrows, the eyes, the hair is all the same. And then as the player blends in, you could see this face is selected, this face is kind of put on this character with those settings. Okay, and then of course you have the new hair selections. They kind of separate it out, so you have more options now. You have the hairs with the hairstyles that are coming out, and you can kind of see here, this is kind of like a new hairstyle. Then you have the beards. Then you have eyebrows. Eyebrows are now separate. And then you have, of course, the hair colorization. So you can dye your hair different colors. You can kind of see what that UI looks here. You can dye the roots, you can dye the tips, you can adjust the variation, the dye amount, the dye gradient. You can also copy from. So, again, I'm assuming that they have the little save button down here. So I'm assuming you can, upload from your file or whatever, your character file. Okay. And this is the part that's kind of the most interesting about this feature is the ability to save out. So let's kind of look at this UI for a second and kind of talk about it. Okay, so you have the ability to name your character here. So this person has made essentially 3 characters: Jared, Jimothy, Chad. And then you have the ability to export that, which is basically saving it to your computer. This will be some kind of file that the game can read all the information from, and when you upload that, it will immediately populate that character. Okay, and so you export, let's say you make this character, and this character, you name them Jared. Okay, so Jared is now saved in here, and you export that to your computer. So when there is a wipe and CIG clears all of your information, you can just go into this screen here and hit import, and the Jared character will pop up here. Okay, and you can just load into the game with this character. Okay, now if there isn't a wipe, you'll see all of the characters that you made. So again, it would be very important to remember to export your characters after you make them. You spend 30 minutes or whatever making your character, make sure you export it, save it to your computer, so in case anything happens, you can always upload and add it again. Now what CIG basically said about this is that they will try to support the older variations of this character customizer if they ever decide to update in the future. Again, it's one of those things that if they do change the way they do hair or skin or something like that, your file might not be compatible with whatever new character customizer they make 2 to 5 years down the line. But basically what they said, they'll try to make it as backward compatible as possible. So they can't promise that these files will be usable forever. Okay, which is understandable, but for the foreseeable future, if there is a wipe or anything like that, you'll be able to import, hit the import button here, and bring up that character, play as that character, and all that stuff. So what I think is also kind of interesting about the screen, and you kind of see it on the next screen here as well, you have this bar down here that says profile name, and then you have this person has this character profile as Astra Valkyrie. So every time you make a character, you can save it out as an individual profile. Okay, so you can have multiple characters in here. So you can have the Chad, the Jimothy, the Jared, all of these characters, and it looks like it has like a scroll bar here. I don't know how many characters you'll be able to make, if it's infinite, if it's like 5 or 10 or something like that. CIG hasn't really said. And then you can play through as those characters. Now I don't know if CIG is going to make it one of those things where it's interchangeable, or if these characters are unique. Now I think it would be a very interesting mechanic, especially in an MMO, if these characters were unique. So on your account, you can essentially play as multiple characters. Now, again, just stick with me here because this is tier crafting. CIG hasn't said you can do this, but I think it would be very interesting. if let's say you made 5 characters, and a lot of people are saying that CIG can make this a type of scenario where you can have it tied to an account or something like that. But let's say for a second that these multiple characters that you make, CIG limits it to 5. Okay, again, this is just hypothetical. CIG limits it to 5. You can make 5 profile characters, okay? And these characters can represent different roles in your lineage. Let's say one of these characters is the father, the mother, the son, the daughter, and the uncle, okay? This is your lineage, essentially, your next of kin, or the people in your circle that have access to the ships on the account that you play as, okay? And so essentially your character that you're currently playing as, not really a main character or side character, but the character you're currently playing as, that character has 5 lives in game. Okay, so in Death of a Spaceman, in Star Citizen, essentially there will be a type of permanence. So let's say you go out, you do a mission, that character is killed, and you still have all of the things on your account, but the character loses the items on them. After 5 times, that character profile, that name, now needs to essentially will all of their essential gear, their progress, their items, their ships to another character. Now, realistically, again, this is just theory crafting. Realistically, CIG might make it a system where you play as one character with different looks. So you can make multiple characters and then just choose a main character to play as, and you can't play as the other characters until that character is dead or something. Again, I don't know how it's going to be. I'm just throwing out a bunch of different ideas of how CIG might integrate Death of a Spaceman and these multiple characters. CIG can ultimately just keep it very freeform and say, yeah, you can make whatever character you want and play as whatever character you want. But I think that that opens up that level of permanence and importance and weight to that character. Typically in MMO, when you make a character, that's you, and you're kind of locked into that character through your play session, through what you're doing, and you connect to that character, you grow a bond to it, you feel like you're progressing through the game. And progression is definitely one of those things that I think Star Citizen really has to get right to be successful. The feeling of progressing through the game with a specific given character, I feel like it's going to be huge and an important part of endgame and what players strive to do. So if you say, okay, you have you make 5 characters and you start playing as one, okay, that is essentially your play session, your experience with that character, and you will feel a sense of progression with everything that you do with that character, whether that character is a medic or a salvager or a pirate. Your reputation, your the things that you do in game is tied to that character. So of course the items on your account, that's shared amongst all of the characters, but there are specific things that you do in the game that is just tied to that character. So of course when you lose that character, there is a sense of that sense of loss, and that sense of loss of progression, even though you still have the ships on your account. And that's not totally unique to Star Citizen. Diablo 4 has something like that, when you can have like a hardcore character, you have multiple characters that you run through the game as, and you progress with that character. It's not brand new in video games for, you know, a game to allow you to create multiple characters that you can play through the game as on one account. Okay, so the next kind of theory that people kind of tie to this is the potential of having that main character, and maybe there's another button somewhere around here that essentially allows you to tie that character to multiple accounts. So again, to just kind of visualize it, let's say you have 3 characters here, and then down here there's like some kind of drop down menu where you can choose what account you want that character to be tied to. Okay, so let's say I choose Jared and I tie it to my Zypher account, and then I choose Jimothy and I tie it to my alt account. Okay, and so now when I play the game, those characters have access to different things. And it's not only reputation, but it's also account bound items. Okay, so a lot of people look at this as a way to play with NPCs. Okay, so kind of I would say maybe you could compare it to like a Dragon's Dogma 2 pawn system, where you can create your main character and then you can create pawns or NPCs that they have kind of their own thing going on. They have, you know, their accounts. And what's kind of interesting about that is that with a system like that, you could technically play as both. So you could progress as both. So one day you might play as your main character. The next day you might play on the alt character's account if you want to accomplish different things, or if you don't want to ruin the progression and reputation of your main character. Okay, but when you're playing on your main character, you load in the game as your main character, and you can choose if you have multiple accounts or alternate accounts who you want to load in with, and that alt account will enter the game as an NPC and will follow you around. So you load in the game in your hab, and your alt account NPC loads in with you, and this NPC is like, again, like a pawn in Dragon's Dogma 2, and they follow you around the landing zone, they follow you around your hangars and your ships, and this pawn will essentially have, or this, you know, NPC will essentially have like a command system. Again, I'm using Dragon's Dogma 2 as an example, but you have, let's say, like a radio wheel where you can give this NPC different commands. You can say, you know, get in the gunner's turret, get in the co-pilot seat, get in the you know, mining laser, or whatever role the ship seat has, you could command them. So with a system like this, you could, in theory, or CIG could, in theory, make like a professions system for your NPCs. So with this alt account, when you make a character, you can state that, okay, this is an NPC character, or if this is a main character. So you go back to this main screen here. Again, just to visualize it, you have, if you have an alt account, you can say, okay, this is my main account, this is my NPC. Okay, so the start screen could be like, okay, again, this is if you have an alt account. If you have just one account, you'll just see the regular screen. You know, choose what gender you want to be, and you go into the customizer. But if you have an alt account, you can log into that alt account, and then you get this screen where you can make the NPC. Now, personally, I think that it with a system like this, CIG should limit it to one alt account, because, you know, people might take advantage of that. They might buy like 4 or 5 alt accounts and have multiple NPCs going with them. I think that a lot of people might consider pay to win. Okay, you can just buy NPCs and have them on your ship. I think that will be controversial. And again, how Dragon's Dogma 2 does it is that you can have one main pawn, and the rest of your pawns or NPCs you have to acquire in game. You can lose them, and when they die, they're just gone that one time. Okay, but your main pawn that's tied to your alt account, again, it's more persistent. It stays with you, and in my opinion, that's a little bit more level, a little bit more fair. You get like, and instead of like a pawn system, it might be like a co-pilot system, a crew system. Okay, so you would be able to recruit organically NPCs in the game, and add them to your crew, but there would be a steeper cost to having them as a part of your crew, because again, with your alt, you can play on that account and it can make money independently, but your in-game NPC crew, they would essentially have to be get a percentage of the missions you do, or you have to pay them based on playtime or something like that. CIG can implement a system where it's like, okay, if you have a Polaris, let's say, and you want to fully crew it with NPCs, and you play for an hour, that's 1,000 UEC, and so you pay that to the NPC's crew while you have that playtime. So there's kind of like a counter that ticks down, that you'll be able to know, okay, how much this costs, and there will be like contractors that work for you on your ship, this NPC crew. But again, you're allowed one NPC that is tied to an alt. So again, basically when you go to load in the game, you have your main character here, and then you might have, you know, your alt account, your second character there, and you can have you can configure multiple profiles. So you can have multiple characters, and you can set whether your alt account is what character essentially would be next of kin. Okay, so again, your alt account would more than likely be different. I don't think you would make your alt account next of kin. You wouldn't need to, because that account has its own ships. That account has its own essentially its own store profile. Okay, so it wouldn't get your account ships, unless of course you wanted to gift yourself a ship from one account to the next. Again, you could do that, but what a system might be is that your main character, again, you could make multiple characters, okay, and then when your main character dies, then you can load into one of those characters. And or if your alt account character dies, then you can load into that account. So both your main character and your co-pilot, they can both choose next of kin for the ships and items that are bound to those accounts. And of course, you can play on either one of those accounts, if that makes any sense. Okay, so again, this is just an idea. CIG has not said anything about this. I'm just kind of throwing stuff around here. Okay, but being able to save and load those characters in gives you the ability to store essential progression with them. And again, I don't think that CIG has tied progressions to these character profiles. I think your progression right now, especially with 323, would be tied to your account, not the character profile, but I'm kind of talking further in the future. Further in the future, CIG might be able to tie a progression to one of these profiles. So when Jared dies, let's say each one gets 5 lives. When Jared dies, a portion of that reputation would go to their next of kin, and that would be the next character that you make. And then, of course, you know, you could, make multiple characters and do that multiple times. So, when Jimothy dies 5 times or whatever, then his next of kin will be Chad. Okay. And then a similar situation would exist for the co-pilot and the co-pilot's, next of kin, whatever. But again, this is just an idea. This is just a suggestion. CIG hasn't said anything about this. I don't want to give anybody the wrong idea. This is just theory crafting. And I want to hear what you guys think. What do you guys think CIG is going to do? I think with Dragon's Dogma 2, it really kind of, potentially can give CIG ideas for how they want to make the NPCs in Star Citizen, because again, there's a lot of questions around NPCs right now with shipping. A lot of people ask, okay, will physicalized cargo, will there be NPCs loading the cargo and doing all this, that, and the other? And CIG kind of just simplified it and made a timer. But again, in the future, if you have NPCs, they more than likely could manually load your ship for you. So the timer set aside, you could manually do your cargo, but instead of you, the player, doing it, maybe your NPCs do it. I think that there's a lot of tech that CIG starts to build for the NPCs in this game, but I think a kind of quote unquote pawn system would be simpler for CIG to do, because it's fairly easy to code a follow mechanic. It's fairly easy to use the same AI mechanics that CIG has in the game right now with gun turrets, and maybe the professions develop over time. So maybe the first profession that CIG releases is gun turret operator, because there's already NPCs in game that can do that. And then maybe the second profession is like mining laser operator or salvage beam operator, because again, those mechanics are pretty simple. It's just a character in a seat pointing at something and hitting a button. So I think those routines would be easy for CIG to code into the AI to just follow the player around, sit in the co-pilot seat, and shoot at whatever the player targets. I think CIG can easily do that, and making that kind of pawn system would be really cool and interesting. Right now, there is some software that you can download to, DualBox, and CIG has kind of said that that's not allowed. You shouldn't do that. So I think the direction that CIG is going to go into is that there will be kind of steep penalties for having NPC crews for game balance reasons. So I think a system like this sounds pretty balanced. You only get one persistent NPC, a co-pilot, and then the other NPCs you have to hire them out, and the cost of that will be like, okay, what do I want to put a gunner in this turret or not? But very interesting, very fascinating topic. I wish CIG would tell us more about this stuff. I'm very interested in NPCs. I know a lot of people with a lot of big ships, and they have every intention of running them with NPCs. So I feel like that audience of people, they're just really hungry to know more about CIG's plans with NPCs. So let me know what your ideas are. I want to hear what do you guys think CIG is going to do with NPCs. What do you guys think CIG should do about NPCs and this cool, ability to create profiles and download them and upload them and all that kind of stuff? I think that's very exciting. I'm really excited for 3.23, but I want to know what you guys think. I want to hear from you guys. But you guys just awesome. You guys are so creative, so cool. There's so many ideas to make this game just the best game ever. So that's gonna be it for me here today in this video, you guys. Like I always say at the end of these videos, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Salute.